Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Trey, and I want to talk about the X-Men. And the reason why I want to talk about the X-Men is because of there's been talks with speculation of how the X-Men are going to come into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I was thinking to myself, like, what X-Men could they bring in, or how could they bring in the X-Men to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And I thought about it. I already know they're not going to go with the 90s X-Men run. No matter how much we want them to, they're not going to do the classic X-Men run. They're just not going to. So, how about we go this route instead? How about we go the X-Men Evolution route? Yes, I know it sounds pretty crazy, but if you guys were growing up in 2004, you guys would know there's an animated series called X-Men Evolution, and this is where the X-Men characters, except for Wolverine and Storm, were teenagers. And they kept their mutant powers under wraps for a long time. Like, yeah, some people knew of mutants or whatever, but a lot of people, the world wasn't aware of them until some time, and they made it work. They made it work like the whole. I think it was like halfway to season 2 or 3 when it literally got revealed to the world that mutants exist. Like, it was always a rumor, but now to actually see it confirmed, that could be something like the mutants been there, and finally something kind of forces them out of hiding. And I'm thinking maybe they can go that route with the X-Men. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you really think about it, why not? I mean, the X-Men Evolution team can still be doing, saving the day, but, not publicly, if that makes sense. I know some people are like, where were they at with Thanos or whatever? They were busy trying to save New York City from the craziness, because let's be honest, our Armada is not going to just be coming for just one location. That's just not how this works or whatever. And then, of course, they have to defend other mutants. They have to defend people who have special powers that a lot of people are wary, especially after the events of Age of Ultron and Civil War. People are way on edge with people who have superpowers, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, they could definitely have it where the X-Men have been there. They've been doing everything undercover for secretly, because Charles Xavier felt like they weren't ready yet to reveal themselves to the world. He wanted them to actually be present to the world when they're truly ready, you know what I'm saying? But something kind of forces their hand and kind of throws them out. So, kind of throws them out in the public. And like I said, you can go to X-Men Evolution route where they all go to high school, they're regular kids, but they get into misadventures if you want to. Or they can have a movie where, they are high school kids, but then at night they go and do special operation missions. And one of the missions kind of exposes them to the world. And now, like, they have to kind of go into the light and face the scrutiny of being a mutant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after everything that's happened. Because, like I said, a lot of people aren't really feeling mutants at all right now. Like, people who are actually born with superpowers, not people who are genetically modified or smoking some goddamn gas or experimented on, because of the Terrigen Mist, because nobody was afraid of the Inhumans, but everybody is afraid of the mutants because they are born with those powers. They can't help themselves. So that could probably work for a plot point, or, well, I mean, that could work as well. If you want to go that route. I know it kind of sounds crazy. I know it sounds like, what are you trying to get at, Trey? But I'm just saying, think about it. They're not going to do the 90s X-Men team. I would love for them to do the 90s X-Men team, but they're probably not going to. So why not do something? Why not go with the second best X-Men animated series, which was X-Men Evolution? I mean, you have Wolverine and X-Men, but I don't really hold that much stock into it. And I know they can base them off of the Ultimate X-Men. I really pray they don't. Just keep them based off of the X-Men Evolution. I wouldn't even really look at the comic books for inspiration. Us, well, the main continuity X-Men stories, sure, but like the Ultimate Universe, no. Any other universe that's not the main continuity, don't even look over there for X-Men stuff. But actually try to actually do X-Men Evolution, watch the show, see how they did it, see how the world still had the Avengers and everyone else in it, but the X-Men were just doing their own little thing. I mean, because they kind of are doing their own little thing, kind of like how you have Spider-Man doing his own little thing too, in a bigger, broader world in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, well, not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but you know what I'm getting at. So I think that could be a good idea for the X-Men to go with the young teens who are finally kind of exposed to the world as mutants. And what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? How does that affect their families? And how are they still going to be able to do their missions secretly while the world is awaiting to see what they might do? You know what I'm saying? So it could always be something like that in that kind of regards. Then you can kind of ramp up the whole mutant thing, because this will be the time where Magneto finally puts his plan into action after resting for a while. You can be like, well, what was Magneto at this whole time? You could be like, he was in some kind of stasis healing chamber kind of thing. After some kind of event that happened, it kind of kind of injured him to where he had to go into this cool machine that was built by whatever mutant, and it rejuvenate him over time. But he knew he was going to have to hibernate for a long time, and Mystique, kept everything on a hush hush until the plan was ready. And it's the same thing with Professor Xavier. People probably heard of him but never really paid attention. His name's probably been on TV or something like that, but nobody really knows him much. Professor Xavier, except for that they know he has a boarding school and his students are well behaved or whatever, not realizing that they've been secretly doing missions and stuff like that. Like, you can also tie it into Agents of Shield, where with the whole Inhuman thing too. So there's just things to connect to try to make this franchise palatable for the audience. I understand it, like I said, I know people want the 90s one, and I do too, but since we're most likely not going to get that, why don't we go with the teenager kind of thing, and let's go the route of X-Men Evolution, because X-Men Evolution was actually a pretty good series. And the team is pretty small. You can get rid of a few, because I mean, the teachers, the adults in this situation would be Beast, Storm, Wolverine, and Professor Xavier. Cool. Then the teens, of course, is Jean Grey, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, Rogue, Iceman, and Spike. That's 7. That's seven kids. You can easily do something with that one if you don't overbloat anything. And if you want to, you can always get rid of Spike, because Spike's not a real character anyway. So that could also be something you could think about. But hey, if you want to give Storm a family, kind of familiar family member, Spike is the best way to go with. That's all I'm saying for this whole thing. Try to make the characters work in the context of people are going to be like, well, where were they? Of course, you can kind of explain it away, because Professor Xavier can use Cerebro to erase the world's mind from this stuff or whatever. And like I said, even though Thanos was attacking the Avengers, they could have also been attacking other parts of New York City, and the X-Men been saving the day. I mean, been saving them, trying to protect the normal citizens and trying to keep everything together. They've been doing secret stuff to try to, make things easier and lighter for the the Avengers and stuff like that, without being recognized, because there are always ways of doing things, without nobody knowing. And then of course you have the colorful costumes that they have from X-Men Evolution. I mean, they mostly are black, but they also have their own uniqueness about them. So you can always do something different with them. If you're not going to go colorful, I would go colorful as possible, but that's just me. I know you might have to get a little bit older characters to portray these teenage versions, but hell, I mean, you can even take some of the cast from the Fox the Fox reboot line and just add a few more characters on there, and then you got a X-Men movie, especially using the evolution kind of style of things. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but let's try that. I would accept that more than how are we going to explain the X-Men not being around for a long time. Well, I already told you how you can explain that, because if you watch the show, when times get desperate, Charles Xavier would actually use his powers and remove everybody's memories of things. I know, it sounds wrong or whatever, but he was doing it to protect his students and their lovers, especially when they're are being prosecuted, or people are just not really feeling, mutant kind right now. So it's just kind of one of those things that, it's food for thought. We can sit here, we can discuss it, we can try to figure out what's the best plan for it or whatever. But I just thought that this would be something cool to really discuss and talk about the whole situation. But that's just my opinion on the matter. What do you guys think? I'm sold on it, to be honest. I mean, of course I'm sold on it because it's my idea, but I'm just saying, if we want to really, outreach things, and make sure that these characters are being treated correctly and well, we need to do some kind of research, and we need to understand like how the X-Men could work in a universe that's already filled with these characters, and half of these characters are already long gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those kind of things, but it is what it is. Tell me what you guys think, comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.